Europe stands at a pivotal moment, a time of reckoning. It is confronting a complex history marred by both progress and a haunting legacy of racism. From violent protests against racism that shook the streets of France, to racially abusive posts directed towards members of Germany's under-21 soccer team, incidents of racism have cast a dark and undeniable shadow on 21st century Europe. But tonight, our focus narrows as we shift our gaze to Finland, a nation rattled by a series of unsettling racism scandals that have ignited a resounding call for action against the backdrop of Europe's colonial past. Symbols of hate and division are being challenged, and one Finnish lawmaker is leading those voices. Ben Zyskowicz, a Finnish MP from centre-right National Coalition Party, is pushing for a law to outlaw discrimination, armed with a vision that goes beyond condemning racism with just lip service. Also advocating for a game-changing move, a legislation that leaves no room for discrimination to breathe. He suggests banning the use of the swastika, a Nazi symbol, as well as the hammer and sickle. The proposed law wants to do away with symbols essentially that evoked pain and division for far too long. Think of the swastika and the hammer and sickle. The emblems have left scars in their wake. And this is not just talk, it's about action, about taking the bull by the horns. A series of racism scandals within the new Finnish government led to these calls for the ban. The Finnish MP essentially saying that it's not enough to merely condemn racism. A legislation must be adopted to outlaw discrimination. And his suggestion is on the ban on the use of the swastika and the hammer. The MP made the suggestion during an interview with Politico. He said, and I'm quoting, "It's very difficult to find real, concrete decisions which can be made by the government or by the parliament to fight against racism, and that is a real problem." But let's just zoom out for a minute. This calls for a new law. This call for a new law comes from a place of turmoil. You see, Finland's new government has not just faced one storm, it has been struck by 3 lightning bolts of racism in a span of just over 2 months. It began with the economy minister's exit due to Nazi-linked comments. The deputy prime minister, Riikka later came under fire for making racist comments in online blog posts published in the year 2008, yet she did not resign. And then Junila's replacement, Will Reitman, was revealed to have used racial slurs in private messages with his then-girlfriend. It is a 3-part saga that has left the country stunned. But the Finnish MP's proposition is part of a broader collection of ideas drawn up by a new working group to fight against discrimination and racism. It has been set up by the Prime Minister. The new Finnish PM says that he has zero tolerance policy for racism and extremism, and now the Finnish Parliament gears up for a heated debate in early September. Those advocating for the ban recount moments when these symbols were wrested away from the perpetrators of racism, like the swastika flags that were removed from a group of neo-Nazi protesters in Helsinki back in the year 2018. There is a rallying cry for concrete anti-racism measures. It's a call to arm against racism and intolerance. But pause for a moment here. Will just banning these symbols actually uproot the seeds of racism? It is a question that hangs heavy in the air. It is a challenge that underscores complexities of modern Europe. Europe is yet to acknowledge that racism exists in the continent, especially now with the rise of the far-right politicians. And let's be honest, the direction taken by some of these right-wing European parties has played a very serious role in spreading the poison of racism. Demonstrations and meetings by far-right so-called patriotic Europeans, like the Alternative for Germany party, has spread and further entrenched these sentiments. Incidents of racism coming out almost every month from European states, in fact, especially the big ones like France and Germany. The far right in Europe still amounting to a ticking time bomb. If they call themselves democracies, then they must defuse this very bomb. The establishment of the EU Anti-Racism Action Plan and the appointment of Michela Moa as the first EU Anti-Racism Coordinator do bring some hope, but we need to talk about racism and European nations need to act against it. It's always possible to change the reality on the ground when there is will. Ironically, the motto of the European Union is united in diversity. And the question is, will it live up to these words? WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.